Alright, so I'm back from vacation and ready to finally do the Groot video. This has been almost a month in the making, so my bad, commenter from forever ago. Okay, so Groot is a really simple tank, but he's also a really good tank to just know in general. For the beginning part of this, we're going to talk about the secret aspects of his kit. He has a special melee combo where the third hit will launch enemies up in the air. In general, I don't see people using this nearly enough, because you can use this melee to sort of animation cancel, just like with most characters in this game. For the walls to get their effectiveness, you need to be within 20 meters of them. So right now I'm outside of its range, and if I'm in the range, I will get the bonus, but we'll talk a bit more about that later. So now that we've covered some of the secret stuff about Groot, let's talk about general playstyle. Groot is an up-close brawler. While he does technically have a projectile with this ability, it's kind of better to think of this just sort of as a melee attack. Huh? Because it can't headshot and it has a hard range cap to it. Your other main source of damage is actually going to be from these walls. So if an ally shoots someone next to a wall, the wall will do extra damage. But that also works for yourself. Now you can stack these walls and the damage output will be insane, which is why we started this video talking about those animation cancels. The other wall, your E, your big wall, this wall is your sustain wall. When you do damage next to this wall, it gives you bonus health, the sort of blue shield. As long as that wall is up, you're basically unkillable. To give you an idea of how insane the animation cancels with this character are, if we do something like left click, melee, right click, melee, that's enough to kill a Captain America, which with animation cancels is going to look like this. I don't know why that didn't kill. I think one of the projectiles didn't hit. But you see what I'm talking about here, right? The damage output is insane. His right click is his spore bomb. You can kind of use this at range, but for the most part, you kind of just want to use this for animation cancels in your combos. As for your ultimate is basically just a Zarya grab if you've played Overwatch. So it's going to pull enemies in and basically root them to the ground and then do some ticks of damage. But for the most part, you're going to use this to deal with large groups of enemies or use it defensively or to combo an ultimate. For the most part, this ability isn't a team-winning ultimate on its own. Now, the walls have some interesting aspects to them that are a little bit harder to get down. First of which is you can put them at angles, which you can like kind of use to do parkour and stuff, or to make a ladder, or to Fortnite box someone. I'm not going to go into too much detail telling you how you should use these walls, but I will say that people are much less expecting of the vertical or aerial walls. And in general, on the lower side of the ranks especially, people tend to not expect that much damage out of Groot. So you can kind of get away with a lot. Most people are exclusively expecting Groot to just sort of spam his walls to try and prevent pushes and get hit by a bunch of damage. They're not usually expecting the offensive aspects of them. The next thing is, for this big wall is basically your only way to stay alive in most fights. So while you can kind of just spam these walls out and you're fine, a lot of times I actually like to put this wall kind of away or tucked away near the supports and play further up, because remember, as long as this little golden part is on the side, the wall is activated and I'm getting that bonus health by doing damage. So if I'm over here fighting these guys, I'm not going to get the bonus health. But if I'm here doing these fights, I'm going to get the bonus health. It's contingent on me or this bot doing the damage, not of this guy getting damage near the wall. So a lot of times I'll just kind of leave a wall up, and then I can be out here brawling and stuff, and I'm getting those benefits from the wall, but the enemy isn't destroying it, so I get to keep healing basically forever. Getting in the habit of building... Getting in the habit of building more ramp walls too is really nice, because it lets you sort of jiggle peek the cover. You're only losing a little bit of vertical height on the wall. It lets your teammates traverse them so that they can sort of add on to the damage. And it also makes them sort of even better at catching. Also important to note that while you only have 2 charges of your shift, you can actually have 3 walls up. You're also going to want to think of each of the wall's health bars as a resource. So kind of the same thing as the Strange video. You never want to be in a situation where you have no walls left in full health or no health left and a bunch of walls in your pocket. Since the walls are all also individual cooldowns, you kind of want to be cycling them. So unless you're going for some sort of gimmick where you put 3 walls on 1 door, you should basically never have all of your walls up at the same time, because if all of your walls are up at the same time, that usually means you have none in your back pocket, which can kind of screw you over. Also make sure that you don't put walls in front of the cart, because this will put them on cooldown, which is just adding downtime that you don't need. Instead, put the wall on the cart or far enough up ahead or around the corner that the cart won't destroy it. Let's talk about what characters you play as best with and what characters are going to be the scariest to play into. Groot doesn't really bring anything to the table against most flyers in the game. Since his walls are basically built on cutting off choke points and boxing people in, characters that cannot be boxed in are going to be pretty good into him, unless you are fighting in an enclosed space like a room, in which case you can easily wall off doors and take that 1v1 and win a lot of the time. But for the most part, you're going to want to watch out for Iron Mans, Storms, Scarlet Witches, and also just in general, any high mobility characters that are going to get out of your walls and traps pretty easily. So Spider-Mans, Wolverines, anyone fast. Your walls are insanely good at shutting down long, flat sight lines. So most of the hit scan characters or projectile characters in the game are really going to struggle to deal with Groot because of the walls. So Hawkeye's, Hela a bit less because she can get up. Black Widow, if you ever see anyone playing her. Most of the strategists. Namor, not so much because of the turrets. Punisher, definitely. And Winter Soldier would be, but because of the fact that his shots are kind of like an air burst, they go through things and have an exploding damage that actually deals damage past them. He actually kind of shreds Groot's walls. But you get them back so fast that it doesn't really matter. Fighting the more brawly or divey tanks is a bit of a toss-up. Groot can do a ton of damage really quick, but so can all these characters. So it really comes down to your healing comp and your wall placement. If you place good walls, you can farm a Thor or a Venom or a Hulk, but if you're low on walls or you're down a support, these characters are usually going to be able to take you out pretty quick. He actually plays insanely well into Penny, because when he puts his walls up, he can put the wall up under the spider nest. A lot of times pennies will put a spider nest out, so a choke will be like in the middle of the map, and the spider nest will be on their side of the choke. So to clear the spider nest, you need to first clear the choke and take the damage of the mines to clear the spider nest. As Groot, you don't need to do that. You need to look where the mines will be, put up a wall, and it instantly breaks the nest, which then makes all the mines visible, which then means you don't take the damage. I don't think it puts it on the destroyed cooldown. They seem to get it back pretty quick, but it's a nice little bit of tech to exploit when you're up against that annoying ass character. Both Magneto and Strange, I feel like, are kind of a toss-up. I mean, Strange is kind of just broken and can farm Groot really fast with just the amount of damage he does, but Groot can also farm Strange if he gets him in a tight spot. Magneto is a bit more in your favor because you're going to be using a lot of melee, which means that Magneto's big shield isn't going to do that much into it. Same thing with Strange's, but as long as they can keep you at poke distance, you're basically just going to be throwing snowballs at each other. Like, it's going to do nothing. You're having a tickle fight. I mean, Captain America, is there anything I need to say about that? Other strategists that he pairs really well with are characters like Mantis because of the damage boost on the walls, Loki because of the immorts. Adam Warlock with the reses can be good, but he kind of lacks the consistency of heals to keep Groot up. Cloak and Dagger are really good because you can basically just camp the dagger bubble and just get infinite heals. You chuck one of those bubbles next to a Groot when the big wall goes down, and they basically just have the big wall again. It's really broken and stupid. I would also say for the most part, Groot walls are more important to keep Groot up than they are to assist teammates. There are going to be a lot of times where your teammates are going to get super pissed at you because you put a wall up in an area they wanted to spam. If that wall blocks damage, you're basically saving them from getting shot. So as long as you do the ramp walls instead of vertical walls when you're just kind of spamming them, or at least try to do that as much as you can, there shouldn't really be an excuse for DPS or supports to flame you for breaking LOS because you're basically giving them covered LOS with your walls. Now, that's not always possible because a lot of times you are going to have to do the vertical walls. In those cases, you should be focusing on staying in their LOS, but those walls are to keep you up. If you think you need a wall, put the wall up. If your DPS is mad that that wall blocked their shot, literally talk to the wall on that one. The other thing about Groot that you're going to need to keep in mind is he's not a very high impact tank. What I mean by this is he gets a lot of value from just kind of standing there, but he's not going to really make a ton of flashy plays. His ult is a very supportive ultimate. It's not really going to be a team wipe ultimate on its own. His combos are good, but so are they with most of the tanks in the game. His damage output isn't anything crazy, and he does need a lot of resources to keep up. A good Groot is basically unkillable. Bad Groot dies very quickly, but still not nearly as quickly as most of the other tanks in the game. And honestly, I think this character is a little bit slept on, not in terms of people thinking he's bad, but more so in terms of people not realizing just how scary he can be, especially with those animation cancels and like cheeky walls. So yeah, pretty easy character, but also very fun. Let me know which one we should do next.